Hello and welcome into the Skraby Show for July 11th, 2024. Thank you to everybody who's joining me. Hope you enjoyed the roundtable. Just starting slightly late, If you've listened to Gwen and Chris for a long time, you know that my timing isn't the best, or at least my math is not the best. So I mistimed everything by 3.5 minutes. So I hope Adam's not listening, but we are here for the Skraby Show right now. And the roundtable, it was lively, I have to say. I was told earlier that it wasn't lively, but that was pretty lively. And we're going to be talking about certain things from the roundtable, like what's going to happen with the trade deadline, because we're coming up on it real soon. I think it's 19 days away. July 30th is the trade deadline, and the Padres, they need some work done. They need to bring in some guys, or at least one pitcher to help them out with the starting rotation. But AJ Preller, we all know that he is a master of working trades that we never saw coming. So maybe that's in the process right now, but we'll get into that here in just in the next segment. We'll talk about that. We're going to get into the news of the day here in just a second. And then at the end of the show, the last segment, we're going to talk about the A's and why the move to Sacramento is now concerning people. And if you haven't heard, it's not going well for John Fisher and the A's. It doesn't really seem like they're going to be leaving Oakland, but they kind of have to. So we'll talk about that. Also, a news story not related to sports at all, but Southwest Airlines is doing something that I think, or they're thinking about doing something that I think is going to ruin the airline. Ruin it. Maybe not ruin it, but it's going to make it a little bit different. So we'll talk about that. And then my daily gripe is something that happened to me yesterday on the drive home, and it was brutal. It was brutal, and I will tell you what happened, and it still makes me sad to even think about it. But first, the ESPYs are on tonight, and I say it like that because it's kind of a question mark for me. I had no idea that the ESPYs were tonight. I guess I don't watch much cable TV anymore, and I just wasn't aware of it. So when I say I don't watch cable TV, basically what I watch on cable is sports. That's it. It's the only thing I turn the TV on for in that regard, is to turn on the Padres, turn on ESPN to see whatever sports are playing. Other than that, I'm not watching much cable. And so I had no idea that the ESPYs were tonight. And I'm not really much of an award show guy to begin with, but I just do not care. They did this. I have a problem with this. When things are fun and things are good and people are saying good things about them, and then all of a sudden you have to make them bigger, you have to make them quote unquote better. I don't think that they've made it better. I don't. And I don't really think that it's that big of a deal. But some people love the ESPYs. I'm not trying to take away anybody's joy out there. Trust me. I do not care if you like the ESPYs. That's great. Good for you. But the ESPYs just seem like a glorified money-making machine. And again, that's another thing you know about me, is when big business makes more money, I get mad. And that's where I'm at with the ESPYs right now. I believe Serena Williams is hosting the ESPYs. So that's kind of interesting. I will try to look for a clip or two of that because I want to see how she does. But other than that, do not care about play of the year, any of that stuff. And I don't know why that is. I don't know why I'm such a hater in that way. It just doesn't appeal to me whatsoever. But if you are watching the ESPYs, enjoy it and don't let me ruin it for you. Let's go to the chat real quick and see who is here with us. We have Prolific. We have Welsh. Fryer is here all the way from Wales. He's asking, how's Lucky doing now after the donut of shame? Lucky was in studio yesterday, my dog, and his face is doing much better. Thank you. He had a little bit of an infection on his face, and now it's doing a lot better. And he was a gentleman yesterday. He was the one dog in the room out of Chris and I's dog that was good. I'll just say that with Chris not being here. Dan is here. Rod is here. Let's see. Maria's here. Diesel's here. Trevor's here. Castro's here. Jacob is here. SD Yeg is here. Dominic is here. NY Mike 8 is here. Gonzo is here. So we got a lot of people going in the chat right now. Sorry if I missed you. I was just scrolling through quickly. And let's see. Matt is here. Yes, that's what I was looking for. Tommy is here as well. Eric has a quick question for me. Skraby, what if we sign Trevor Bauer? I'm going to start banning this question in my own head because the answer on signing Trevor Bauer is it's not going to happen, and I'm not even going to put any sort of thought into this anymore. This is like the most popular opinion or popular question in my DMs is why aren't the Padres bringing in Trevor Bauer? And I guess now that I say I didn't want to talk about it, I'm going to talk about it, but Trevor Bauer is not going to be a good thing for this team. Number one, I was reading something from someone who was trying to write about whether or not Trevor Bauer would succeed like he is right now back in the major leagues. And he's not even pitching against guys that are good enough for AAA, AA, single A. So his numbers do not reflect what he's actually doing. And I know what people are going to say. He wasn't found guilty of anything. Yes, he wasn't. And do I think it's a little unfair that he's being like forced out of baseball like he is? I do think it's a little unfair. But at the same time, he dug this grave himself. He was the one who causes all the controversy. I mean, everywhere this dude goes, controversy follows him. When he was in Cleveland, he had the whole drone thing where he cut his hand on a drone, and then he threw the ball over the center field wall when he was taken out of a game. And then he went to he's just gone to different places. Then he went to L.A. and he was doing the thing where he was closing his eye when he was pitching. Just everywhere this guy goes, it's all about him, and he does not fit in this clubhouse anymore. He doesn't fit at all in this clubhouse. I don't see it happening, and I don't know that he'll find a place elsewhere because it doesn't seem like it. And if I sound a little bit angry about the question, I'm sorry, but it is a question I've answered probably 1,000 times. And the answer to everyone who wants to know, should the Padres sign Trevor Bauer? The answer to it is look at all the other teams in baseball. He's not even getting a sniff from teams. It's because they don't want to deal with the antics. They don't want to deal with the off-the-field stuff. I was texting with a friend the other day about Trevor Bauer because he really wanted Trevor Bauer to come in. And I'm just like, the minute he comes into that clubhouse, everybody in that clubhouse is fair game for questions. How do you feel about Trevor Bauer being on your team? How do you feel about what he did in the past? How do you feel about this? How do you feel about that? It's a distraction. And even if Trevor Bauer is innocent of everything, it's still going to be a distraction, and that's the last thing that the Padres need right now is a distraction. And Eric, I'm not mad at you. I promise. I'm not mad at you. I'm just I've seen this. I've just been asked this question too many times. And yes, I fell right into the trap, but I wanted to answer for Eric because Eric is a good listener, always here with us. Dan says, angry Skraby with the angry face. Yes, a little bit. Johnny, I can't say that. Michelle says, like fam. Now, fam, I see that's the weird thing is that I don't necessarily have any issues with Tommy Pham because he's in baseball, number one. And again, I don't blame him for getting stabbed at the strip club. I don't blame him for that. So it's not his problem that someone set him up and stabbed him. All right, moving on with that. Now, do I not? Well, I say moving on with that and then go back to it. Do I think that his comment about fighting everyone anytime there's a conflict is an issue? Absolutely. Don't want any of that either. I don't need some guy who's going to be like, you disagree with me? I'm going to fight you. Like, not my fan either. Not my fan. Never. I was trying to make something funny, but it wasn't. Moral says you could say the same thing about Profar at the start of the season. I don't understand that. Profar's always been, no teams were interested in him, but now look at him. Yeah, no teams were interested in him. I don't know that no teams were interested in him. I think he really wanted to play in San Diego, and so that's why he's back. I think Jurickson Profar has never done anything wrong, so I have no issues with Jurickson Profar in here at all. at all. Prolific said, plus, Trevor is an ex-Dodger. I don't really care about that. Honestly, I really don't. All right. Let's move on. My gosh, I went too far in the first segment already. But you know what? We're just going to go through the news of the day quickly.
It's time to get caught up on the latest with the news of the day.
Another Trevor Bauer comment in the chat. Yes, I'm aware that he said he would accept league minimum. He said that for about 2 months now. No one wants to sign Trevor Bauer. Okay, moving on. And I will start with a sad story, and this is going to get serious for a second, but Sean Burroughs, former Padre, the autopsy report was released, and the cause of death was a fentanyl overdose. And he was 43 years old. May 9th, he was found unconscious next to his car at Stearns Champions Park in Long Beach after dropping off his son for a Little League game. The Long Beach Little League president said at the time CPR was performed on him in hopes of reviving him, but that he remained unresponsive and was pronounced dead at the scene shortly after. Now, this is very sad for many, many, many reasons. Number one, he had just dropped off his kid, so life is going as usual, and everything changes in such a dramatic fashion for that family, and I feel really terrible for that. Also, it just shows you and it shows me how terrible addiction is and how terrible substance abuse is, and it affects so many different people. And whenever I see people comment on news stories like this and they say, well, it's pretty easy to, man, this guy must be a real dirtbag. He was doing it when he was with his kid. Is he a dirtbag? I don't think so. That's how serious his addiction was. And to have someone who was so into, I can't say that because I don't know, but without being 100% sure, just going off of what I felt in the past, it's to have someone who felt like they needed to, take part in their substance of choice that much, that they're doing it at a Little League field. The struggle is real, and I feel very, very bad for him and his family because he didn't deserve to die, but he did choose to do something that was risky and somewhat reckless. And so this is what happens, and it's very sad. And like I said earlier, I hope that everyone out there gets Narcan, which is it reverses the effect of an opiate overdose. And I have some at home, not because I am expecting to use it at any point, but you really don't know when you're going to need it. And so I hope that people look at this and see how serious addiction is, and look at this and see how dangerous things are right now in the, I don't know how to phrase this better, but in the drug world. I mean, it's so dangerous. There's so many different things that can kill you nowadays. And I don't say that to scare anybody. I hope if there's any kids listening, you're not scared. It's not scary, just don't do it. You don't need to risk it at all. It's not something that you need to, it's not something that you need to try. It's not something that you need to do. And, I'll leave it with that, and rest in peace, Sean Burroughs. The second news story of the day is my guy, I guess. Paul Skeens pitched against the Brewers. They won 1-0, but I gotta say, he keeps doing things that are making me look like an idiot for not wanting him to start the All-Star game, but this was Paul Skeens' 8th start with at least 7 strikeouts, the longest streak by a Pirates pitcher. It was his second start of at least 11 strikeouts over 6 or more no-hit innings, joining Nolan Ryan as the only American National League player to do that in the same season. Again, 11 strikeouts over 6 or more no-hit innings. Ryan did it in 1973, but he did complete the no-hitter in both of those efforts. Now, Paul Skeens' pitch count was a little too high, so he could not complete the game. But he still had another start of no-hit ball, and again, he's making me look really bad for my opinion on him not being able to start the All-Star game. But they won 1-0 today, the Pirates, and he is doing great things right now. Final news story is Roger Goodell and the NFL are very upset about the decision that was made that they owe customers billions of dollars because it was it was determined that it was a monopoly, antitrust. They said the league is violating antitrust laws with the NFL Sunday Ticket. We've already talked about this, so I don't really want to go through all the details, but Roger Goodell said, "We obviously disagree with the jury verdict, and we are committed, obviously, I added those, to following the legal process. It's a long process, and we're aware of that, but we feel very strongly about our position, our policies, particularly on media. We make our sport available to the broadest possible audience. Sunday Ticket is just a complimentary product. We're committed to following the litigation all the way and making sure that we get this right." The one thing that I would say to Roger Goodell is this was a jury verdict. This was not like a judge deciding on his own merit what happens with this money. The jury found that the NFL was in the wrong, and that's good enough for me. So stop your crying, NFL. Cry into the other billions that you have in the back pocket over there, whatever, or in your mattress. But stop crying to all of us. We do not care about the billions that you're going to have to pay out. In fact, I am very happy that you have to pay out billions of dollars, because it's finally time that someone sticks it to the NFL just a little bit. All right. Wow, that was a really angry first segment of the Skraby Show. I didn't realize I was going to be so angry during that. But during the break, I'm going to try to get myself back on the happy side, and we're going to talk about what this team, the Padres, are going to need to do in the event they make no trades, in the event they make some trades. We'll go through some of the different scenarios when we get back on the Skraby Show on 97.3 The Fan.
Mobile provider just
right. Back here in the Skraby Show on 97.3 The Fan. Thanks to everybody for joining me. If you would like to watch the show, you can on YouTube. You can go to 97.3 The Fan. Just search that on YouTube. You'll find it. Also, Twitch and X 97.3 The Fan SD. I got a tweet in the break that I wanted to talk about real quick because it's a good point. Do we even know if Sean Burrows was using, or did he just unfortunately come in contact with something that had fentanyl on it? So I went to do some research because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't passing along the wrong information. And there's not much to say that it was an accidental contact, but the death had been ruled accidental. And so I don't want to go past that because I don't really know what part of it was accidental, because I don't want to just talk about things that I'm not sure about when someone's life is what we're talking about. But I know that he had problems with substance abuse in his life. So that's why more people are thinking it was, it wasn't a accidental come in contact with fentanyl type of thing. It was more of a usage type of thing. But I'm going to keep looking for that because that is important. And I just want to make sure I'm getting the right information out there. But all the articles that I've looked through said that they say it's an accidental death, and he was found unresponsive near his car, which is, again, very, very sad. So thank you for pointing that out on X. You can follow me on X if you want, at Matt Skraby. I say crazy things all the time, and you can laugh at my crazy things all the time as well. All right, let's do this trade thing. Now, the trade deadline is going to determine a lot, and you might be sitting there thinking, wow, what a great point you just made. Duh, everybody knows that. But what I mean by that is this team is, after this year, is going to be built by what happens during the trade deadline here. And I've been a guy in the past that wants to keep this team together and somewhat of a prospect hugger until you get guys like Juan Soto in a Padres uniform, Dylan Cease in a Padres uniform. But that hasn't seemed to work for the Padres. Kind of plugging and playing some of these players that they've brought in has not been the best move for the Padres. I bring up Adam Frazier. That was not a great, at the time it was an okay trade, but it was one of those head-scratching trades as well, because he didn't really perform for the Padres, and it just seemed like kind of a wash. I mean, they traded for him, and he had the best batting average in baseball, I believe, at the time, or at least the National League. Came to San Diego, and everything got got shifted for him. And he was talking about how he was having a hard time finding his rhythm. He was talking about how he was having a hard time finding his routine at the ballpark, because I didn't know this until Adam Frazier came to town, but it makes sense. Guys have the batting cage routine. Like, this guy goes first, I go next. And so Adam Frazier had to try to work himself into that. And when he was with the Pirates, he probably was one of the guys in the clubhouse that was able to pick and choose where he wanted to do his batting practice or workouts or whatever it is. And when he came to the Padres, he had to work all the way around that, because he can't just come in and move someone out of their spot. And so that's all encompassing of what it's like to be traded and what you got to think about when players are struggling after a trade. But depending on what happens with this trade deadline, there are some serious questions for this offseason. And all of this I'm about to talk about could be a moot point after the trade deadline, because A.J. Preller, as we all know, is really good at trades, and he's really good at getting trades with friendly contract situations. If they don't, let's just say they don't acquire anyone at the trade deadline, nothing works out, they're going to need to figure out these players. And this coming offseason, they're going to need to figure this out. They're going to need to figure out Ha-Seong Kim. They're going to need to figure out Dylan Cease, who has one more year of arbitration after this year. So he still is on the team at least through 2025. Michael King also has 1 year arbitration, which is same as Dylan Cease. So he will be here through 2025. Luis Campusano, all arbitration left, but you got to wonder, do the Padres want to maybe, as Chris said during the roundtable, dangle Luis Campusano and Ha-Seong Kim out there to see what's out there for them? See if any teams want to make a trade? But Campusano has all of his arbitration left, so you got to think that's a huge part of the decision for the Padres. Then you got to figure out Jurickson Profar. You have to figure it out what you're going to pay him, because I want him back on this team, but Jurickson Profar is going to be a conundrum for the Padres. Number one, he's getting older. Number two, his knee seems like it's starting to bother him more and more throughout the season as it goes. Number three, do we think that Jurickson Profar is going to do this again next year? And as a guy who is a fan of rewarding people for what they've done, that's just not how baseball works. Now, I think that Jurickson Profar is worth more than $1 million, which is what he's making right now. Jurickson Profar is, I don't know. See, this is why I'm glad I'm not in the position of having to make a contract offer to him, because I have zero idea what I would offer him. On the market, he's probably worth, with the numbers that he has right now this year, he's worth a lot of money. Because if you put his numbers up against some other numbers, those guys are probably making more than $15, $20 million for just this year, his numbers. And it's going to be a delicate thing, because it does sound like possibly Jurickson Profar would take a hometown discount to stay with the Padres, but I don't know that he's going to be signing for $1 million next year. It's just not going to happen. He's coming off one of the best year of his career, and I'm extending this through the season kind of just as is right now. But you got to think that he wants to cash in. You got to think the Padres want to keep him, and there's got to be a middle ground somewhere. But that's going to be a very, very interesting aspect of the offseason to watch. And I'm very curious to see what they offer Jurickson Profar, and if Jurickson Profar accepts the offer. But right now, he is playing himself into another tax bracket, and that's a good thing for Jurickson Profar. Let's see. Oh, yes. Last one. Kyle Higashioka, the power-hitting catcher that the Padres have now. He's a free agent after this year. Now, he's not going to cost a lot of money, but still, you got to figure out whether or not you're going to bring him back, what you're going to do with Luis Campusano if you do bring him back, Brett Sullivan, all of that stuff. There's a lot that goes into this. There is a ton that goes into this, and they're going to have to. And also another aspect of this whole thing is, how much are the Padres willing to spend this offseason? We know in this offseason that we just had, Padres were looking to get rid of payroll as fast as possible. They were looking to get that number way down. Are they willing to spend more money and go over the first level or the first year of the tax? I don't think I just can't say that I feel the same about that I did 2 years ago. I don't know that they're willing to go and spend $100 million on players. I really don't. They just don't seem. It was fun to go all in like that, but I can see why franchises don't. It causes a lot of backups elsewhere, and then you're kind of stuck. You're stuck with the guys that you got, and you're paying. And the Padres are going to do that. They're going to be paying a lot of guys late in their careers. They're going to be paying a lot of guys that are 35 years or older, and they're going to be paying them a lot of money. So that's another decision that the Padres have to make. Padres, they have the upper hand in a couple different things. Kyle Higashioka seems to love it here. So who knows if, he'll take a discount. Or Ha-Seong Kim, he seems to love it here. But are the Padres going to trade him, or at least offer him? So we are going to be watching a lot in the next 19 days. I do think they're going to make a trade to get a starting pitcher. I don't know that they're going to get Garrett Crochet or anyone like that, but there are starting pitchers out there that could come in, be the fourth or fifth guy, and do a really good job. And I don't want to see it like being Kyle Hendricks or I think it's Kyle Gibson too. I don't want to see one of those guys, even though I think Kyle Gibson's having a pretty good season, or at least did last year. I don't want to see it be a Jake Arrieta or something like that. I want to see the Padres get a pitcher that is starting for a team right now, and he's just doing his job. We don't need anything flashy. We don't need anything shiny. Just a pitcher that goes out there, gets 6 innings under his belt, and limits runs, and that's all they need. And that's who I think the Padres are going to go get. Now that I say that, they're probably going to create some big trade package and have this huge blockbuster trade, but I don't want to see the shuffling of players again. I want to see what this core can do, and they're going to have to figure out who's a part of this core going forward, and the trade deadline is going to help figure that out, because you never know what teams are going to ask for who. So, hey, we want this guy. Okay, well, we'll send you Hassan Kim, and you know what? We also really like that Luis Campusano. All right, we'll send him to you. Then everything changes, and they have to figure out something new for next year. But that's just what we're in, kind of in limbo until the trade deadline, because then once the trade deadline happens, we can really break this down, even though Tony and Chris don't want to. Michael King is a free agent after 2025. He has one more year of arbitration. Rich Hill. See, that's another one. Like a Kyle Gibson, Kyle Hendricks, and then like Rich Hill. That did not work out for the Padres. And I don't want to say this, but I think he's still being paid by the Padres. I'm going to double check that, because I'm not real sure about that at all, to be honest. So don't go telling your friends that Rich Hill is still being paid by the Padres, because I'm not sure. I'm going to go try and check on that in the break. But those are the guys I don't want. I want someone who's under team control, and I want someone who can just do their job, get 6 innings, get outs, nothing flashy, just help the Padres win games. All right, heading into the final segment, like I said, we are going to be talking about the A's and Southwest Airlines, plus the Daily Gripe. So everybody stick right there. This is going way faster than I thought it was going to go, but we are having fun here on 97.3 The Fan and the Skraby Show. Back here with the Skraby Show, 97.3 The Fan. Trying to get some new rejoin beds to pump me up as I'm coming back into the show. We've been talking trades. We've been talking Trevor Bauer. I think I decided that I'm going to start counting how many times I'm suggested Trevor Bauer by people. I think that's going to be fun, actually, because it's going to be in the hundreds of times that he's mentioned to me. He's very, very popular amongst people, but again, he just can't stop causing problems. Yes. All right, let's... Welsh Friars has signed Joey Lucchesi. He is available. I wouldn't mind having Joe Lucchesi come back. Haas comes off the books in 2025. Nope. Comes off the books in 2026. Still paying him for 2 more years, which I know is something that angers everyone out there, which it kind of angers me too, because that's money that could be well spent somewhere else. All right. Let's go into the news here, which is the Oakland A's. And they're trying to move to Vegas. We all know that. It's not going well for them at all. And doesn't even seem like Las Vegas wants them. But now that they're not going to be able to play at the Oakland Coliseum past this year, they are going to, the plan at least, is to have them play in Sacramento at Sutter Health Park, which is the current home of the AAA Sacramento River Cats. And now here's a major issue for the A's and for the River Cats. They both sometimes will have to play home games in the same park. And Sacramento, I don't know if people know this, Sacramento is hot. And it can get over 100 degrees easy. And so I'm reading this article about the logistical issues and everything. But they're saying in this article, according to CBS Sports, that some of the A's games are going to have to be played during the day. And that is the concern for the MLB Players Association. Because if they're going to be playing during the day in an outdoor park during the summer, they're going to be playing in 100-plus degrees every single day. They're also going to play in, it's even hotter than 100 degrees because turf apparently makes everything so much more warm on the field. And so the A's are going to have to be forced to, this is from the article, A's could be forced to play more than their share of early afternoon home games. And with the temperatures going to be over 100 degrees, the MLB Players Association is concerned for the health and safety of the players. They're discussing a wide range of issues and trying to solve some of those issues, but it doesn't look good for this team. A's playing in Sutter Health Park. This whole move thing has been embarrassing. Trevor says the dugouts have no roofs. That is see that those are, but they are going to make improvements to the park to try to make it major league ready, they say. But I don't know that this is going to work out. This whole move again has been terrible, and it's been run so poorly, and it just doesn't seem like anybody wants the A's. Oakland wants the A's. It doesn't seem like the owner of the A's wants anything to do with California. And it makes me sad because I have a lot of friends that are A's fans, and it's not a good situation. I hope they take this team away from John Fisher. I know we've talked about it before, and I know that we can't really take a team away from an owner and all that, but still, it's something that the Major League Baseball needs to start thinking about, because it's not even embarrassing at this point. It's just it makes the A's just look like such a minor league franchise and organization. And I hate to say that because the players are playing their patooties off, as everybody knows, but the owner just doesn't care. He doesn't care. And I've also had friends from the Bay Area tell me that they've witnessed the owner of the A's hanging out at Giants games while the A's are playing. Like, come on. What is going on there? That's weird. Your owner of your team is at a Giants game while we're at home, and you're not going to watch our game. That just shows you he doesn't care about the franchise. I don't understand it, but he doesn't care about the franchise. All right, the other story is that Southwest Airlines has been acquired by an investor, Elliott Capital Management. They're going to take $2 billion stake in the airline. Now, Southwest has adopted something called a poison pill, which dilutes the stake of any shareholder whose stake climbs over 12.5% without approval by the board. And the reason they want to do this is because the person that is coming in wants to change everything about Southwest Airlines. They said, we are considering more transformational options and follow-on initiatives that includes work previously underway to study customer preference around seating and our cabin. We remain committed to our industry-best customer-friendly policies, but we are also committed to understanding and meeting customer expectations. We have transformed before, blah, 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 blah. They also, here's the major changes that they want to make. They're considering assigning seats now, which I don't really guess have a problem with. They are going to be offering premium extra legroom seats. And I think this is what is going to destroy Southwest Airlines. They want a fare that they want to change the checked bag deal where you get 2 free checked bags from Southwest. Now there's going to be a ticket that you can pay for that's cheaper, according to this article, that's cheaper, and you don't get the free bags. But then you'd have to pay more to check your bags. So they're trying to pull a fast one over on us. They're trying to pull the wool over our eyes. Like, hey, you could buy this cheap ticket and not pay for bags, or you could buy this more expensive ticket and get your bags included, which is already included in the cost. It's really annoying. Let's see what the chat is saying. Extra legroom seats means seats the size for normal humans. Ha! Yeah, right, Dominic. They're going to make the seats smaller. They're going to make the legroom bigger, but they're going to make the seats smaller. I think this would be a really, really terrible idea. If they take away the check bags, a lot of people are going to stop flying Southwest because they're not a good enough airline for me to want to seek them out and pay for my bags to be checked. It's just not going to happen, everybody. Not going to happen. All right, I had to run through this, but I want to get to my daily gripe.
What's annoying Skraby today? Let's find out. It's time for the Daily Gripe.
Okay, so driving home yesterday, and everything was kind of like in slow motion. My less than a year old car that I just bought, like I'm very proud of this because I've had cars in the past, obviously, but they've not been great cars. They have been all hand-me-down cars and everything, and I recently drove a Toyota Prius for years and years and years, and I drove it for 250,000 miles because I didn't want to pay for anything. But anyway, I'm proud that I bought this car, and I bought it at the end of October. And yesterday, when I was driving home, I hear something hit the windshield, and it was one of those things kind of in slow motion because it hit, made the impact. And I was like, that sounded a lot different than it usually does when something hits the windshield. And then in slow motion, I scan the windshield, and in my head, I see the big old crack, and I say, no, in slow motion. I'm very upset about this. I am very sad about this. I got to figure out what I'm going to do now. But this is a gripe and a half for me because I didn't think I was going to have to replace my windshield less than a year into everything. And I'm hoping I don't have to replace my windshield. I really am hoping I don't have to replace my windshield. It's going to be so terrible if I have to replace my windshield. But I know that people have had this happen before, and it's just, it made me sit there as I'm driving and just stare out the windshield through the crack. It's annoying. But yep, that's what happened. Gotta rock through the windshield. Not through. Rock off the windshield. And now I'm gonna have to deal with my windshield and whether or not I need a new one or not. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining me. I started the show angry, went to the middle, happy, and ended angry with Southwest Airlines and also the rock that hit my car. All right, everybody, I'll be back tomorrow with Gwen and Chris. We have David Peralta scheduled, so join us for that. Ben Woods start tomorrow, 6 a.m. on 97.3 The Fan. Thanks, everybody, for joining.